It's Andrew Halliday. I help people with anxiety overcome their issues so they can live a normal and happy life. Today, I want to talk to you about anxiety and the depression loop and how that can come to be and what you can potentially do about it. But before I get into it, if you want to get on a free 15-minute discovery call so you can talk to me about what is your challenge at the moment, and I'll see if I can help you overcome your anxiety so you can live a normal and happy life just the way you'd like to, then just click the link below and it'll take you through to booking in a discovery call. Okay, now this is one of the questions that I get quite a lot. What is anxiety and how does it loop into depression? Because they seem to and can also be quite linked to each other. Someone who has anxiety may actually start off that way and it can loop into depression. And it's not a great thing to happen to anybody. So how does it happen, and what is actually happening? Well, if you can deal with whatever challenge you're dealing with at any given time, then you won't necessarily lead into a feeling that you have anxiety or the symptoms associated with anxiety. You just actually imagine that there's some sort of challenge, there's some sort of fear that you're trying to overcome, some sort of frustration, and you build the resources and you derive the energy. Your body releases different hormones so you can actually think about a solution to whatever you're tackling. And that's normal and natural. It happens all the time, and that's how we're designed. We're designed to have some sort of challenge, and we think about how we overcome it, and we release hormones to garner the energy, and so you have the motivation to actually get things done. But what happens if you feel like you can't overcome whatever challenge it is? What happens if there's something that you're actually fearing and it stops you from overcoming that issue? Then what actually happens is you start to run over that thought process over and over in your head more. And that thought process and the loop that occurs is just designed really to help you understand the message. But what happens if you sort of get the message, but you are under-resourced and you don't know how to deal with it? Well, that message keeps on signaling over and over again. And this loop, the more it happens, the more anxious and more that you feel like you're under-resourced, that you can't handle it. And you get these different body feelings. You might get a feeling in the pit of your stomach. You might feel tight in the chest. You might feel tight in the neck and shoulders. You might actually be grinding your teeth. You might feel tightness over your head. Your palms might feel sort of cold and clammy and a little bit sweaty as well. So all those are natural physiological reactions to what you're experiencing in that thought process to prepare you to either fight or flee, because there's this threat that you haven't got a method or resources to deal with the situation, and you're just replaying it over and over in your head, over and again. And that will breed those continual symptoms of anxiety. It's not helpful because you may feel like you're doing everything you possibly can to reduce those physical symptoms. But the underlying issue, whatever the threat is, the fear, the frustration, it hasn't been dealt with in the way that deep down in your core needs to be dealt with. So the message just keeps on coming and coming and coming and coming. And sometimes the message gets louder and more intense. And the intensity is just another way of whatever the message feels like it hasn't been heard. It feels like you haven't actually listened to any of the suggestions. And so the intensity just gets bigger and louder and bigger and louder and bigger and louder. It doesn't help you knowing that this is what's happening, but at least maybe it gives you some comfort to maybe sort of stop and really listen to what it is. Unfortunately, even when you know what it is that you need to be listening to, sometimes you're not equipped with the ability to work out what to do about it, And also sometimes you're not feeling resourced, because it is really exhausting listening to the same message over and over again and getting frustrated about not knowing what to do with it. And so here comes the struggle part. So you might know what you need to do, or you might not know what you need to do. It doesn't really matter, because those physical symptoms are happening over and over again. And your body is trying to give you the resources to deal with it, the physical resources to deal with it. And those physical resources to deal with it include that exhaustion piece. You might be hyperventilating. Your body might be tense, that you're about to, participate in some type of fight. And that in itself, that struggle and that constant communication from inside here and there, that is exhausting in itself. So you become so exhausted from this continuous anxiety loop that's happening. The fear of what might happen is making you really tired and exhausted. And that exhausting piece eventually may make you collapse in a heap. You're so tired, all right? So at night time, you might go to sleep momentarily, but then you'll be woken up with this exhausting loop. And finally, when you're finally exhausted, you will go to sleep, whenever that is. And you might sleep for 20 minutes, 15 minutes. It might be what seems to be 5 minutes, and you'll wake up exhausted. And at that point where you've got no energy left at all, and you do collapse in a heap, then that's where you feel like you've got no energy, no lackluster, where you feel completely depressed, that you haven't got the energy to fight it. Then that's when the anxiety has looped so much that you feel so exhausted that there's no energy left in your body to fight it all. And that's where the depression sort of sets in. That in some ways you would like to overcome the situation, but you just can't. You're lackluster, you've got no energy, you can't think of a way out. And some people say that depression is to do with what's happened in the past, something that you haven't been able to deal with in the past. But it can also be related to not knowing how to deal with what you're experiencing in the future right now. So that could be the depression piece. It doesn't necessarily have to be some type of challenge that you experienced in the past and you can't get over that. But if you like some of the people that I work with who have had anxiety for a long period of time, then that piece of depression will come from that feeling that you couldn't deal with all the anxiety that you had in the past, and it's done something to the future that you wanted, but you didn't have in the past, if that makes sense. So now the depression piece is related to all the things that you didn't have in the past, all the things that you wish you had, and now you feel depressed about that. So this is how your anxiety can loop into, that constant communication can loop into feeling depressed. Now, it's comforting to know that that's what's probably happening, that you've got an answer to what you're experiencing, but it doesn't give you an answer and a solution to the challenges. But here's something that might give you a little bit of comfort. It's nice to know that you can do things like meditate. It's nice to do some breathing. It's nice to let go of things and just keep yourself calm, but that still doesn't give you any solutions. And that's what is really challenging for a lot of people that I deal with, that they're after the solution. There must be something wrong with me. What can I fix? What can I do next? Mindfulness doesn't work. Meditation doesn't work. Yoga doesn't work. None of those things. Cold showers don't work. I mean, you can hum, you can splash cold water on yourself, and that brings you into the present, and it stimulates your vagus nerve and makes you feel like you're calm, but the calmness still doesn't give you a solution for what got you into that loop in the first place. One of the things you can do is give yourself a break. And what I mean by giving yourself a break, one of the reasons in the first place that you're feeling anxious is because you haven't got a solution for the thing that make you feel fearful and threatened in the first place. So at that point, whoever you think you are is being threatened. So what you should do is just give yourself a break from trying to be anything. Not to say that you don't have any future goals or anything like that, but you're so exhausted at the moment because you're trying to be out of this situation, be out of whatever you're frustrated and fearing. And that gives you no time, gives you no resources, gives you no energy, and makes you feel depressed. But what happens just for a moment? You just let yourself be. And just by being is good enough. Now, this is different to mindfulness. This is different to breathing techniques. This is different to doing yoga or doing exercise. This is for no reason at all, just be, and that's enough. That'll give yourself a bit of space to start gaining some energy. And in that space, when you create space just for yourself, then that might just be the start to being able to manage things a bit better. Whereas at the moment, you've looped yourself from anxiety into the loop and into depression, and you've got no way out. This will break the loop for you. So if you wanted to get on a discovery call with me and workshop what's actually happening, and let's just get to what we can do to solve this loop and get you out of it, then click the link below and you'll be able to get on a free 15-minute discovery call to find out how you can overcome your anxiety, whether it's depression or this loop, and get out of this situation so you can feel calm, you can give yourself that space, and you can lead a normal and happy life just the way you've always wanted. Thanks.